Do you think God isn't paying attention to you? Why not pray on the Atwea Mountains where God can be heard most clearly? You may have been praying to God to do something new in your life, but it seems there is a lot of interference between you and God. However, there is a spot in Ghana where some Christians assert that God's hearing is the clearest. On the Ghana Month series, Kojo Yankson leads you on a trip through the picturesque Atwea Mountains in the Ashanti region, where you can trust that your prayers will be heard.
Nestled in the Mampong Ranges near Nsuta, the Atwea Mountains are a magnet for prayerful Christians and church groups looking for a quiet spot for spiritual reflection and communion with God. The almost 2-hour drive from Kumasi towards Nsuta takes us through a rather scenic route of majestic mountains and beautiful overhanging shrubbery. It bears no resemblance to any other place in Ghana. Really quite breathtaking. We have a 70% Christian population. And this place, Atwea Mountains, is fabled for its spiritual significance. People travel churches, travel in buses just to climb up to the top of this mountain to pray. They believe that they will get healing if their prayer goes to God from this mountain. That's a powerful symbol, whether you believe in it or not. And it's worth checking out. It's worth a trip. You, the family, your friends, it's worth it to do the hike up this beautiful trail to the top of the mountain to see where it appears God's hearing is the clearest. Let's go. Now, Bisa has been going up and down the Atwea Mountain for how many years?
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, 4 years.
Wow. These guys make a living from carrying food, water, equipment, baggage, and sometimes people up and down the mountain. How long does it take you to get to the top?
Okay, if I'm going there with nothing there, I can use maybe 10 minutes to go. 10 minutes. But when I'm going there with load, maybe 35 minutes to 45 minutes. Then maybe some heavy load, take me maybe 15 minutes.
So somebody like me, how long will it take me? Since I've never done it before.
How I see it, maybe can use maybe 1 hour.
What?
1 hour.
Wow, we haven't even started and I'm already tired. So anyway, let's do it. And
Okay.
tell me, this place, who discovered it?
Okay, Reverend Osesibe.
Reverend
Osesibe.
Who's that?
One of the Methodist priests.
And what's the story? How did he find this place?
Okay, what I've heard is one day he was one of the pastors at Efigasi. Efigasi diocese. So he was going to Mampong to do a program. Okay, on the way going, they get fought at the junction there. His car. Okay. Where you kept to come this time, Abayusia. Yeah. So that time is Atwea. Okay. Omunya fought on to Ojina time Ojina on I wana onya vision bi se on hwe po so na e ho na no bibi wo ho no ma ba interesting story we say omoko no nko ho no da but one na di kai.
So he was leading them.
He was leading them
even though he had never been
there before.
Wow.
But he was leading them to where they were going. It was an equalim for a could do a come terre honor. 200 day home but Taya and Casa would do a home and a casa at once no Muduan and a Casa, a home now turning to move color.
You hear all sorts of stories about this place, people trying and failing to make it to the summit. But I must say, it doesn't look so hard. If even little Bisa can do it, carrying luggage, then for big men like us, it'll be a walk in the park. Famous last words.
Oh, you have started it, if you are going to use Travis, hey, easy. I think 100.
I don't think it's possible to describe the marrow-deep fatigue I was feeling at this point. It felt as if every cell in my body had been drained of its vitality. I had emptied my tank, my reserves, and was running on fumes. Seriously, I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't feel my arms. I couldn't feel my eyes, my waist, my teeth. I was struggling to find physical proof that I still existed. At a point, I genuinely felt I was about to die. And we weren't even halfway there. Hey! I can tell you, without a doubt, since I was born, this is the most tired my body has ever been. You would think it's a simple undertaking, but I swear to you, it's an experience you and your body will never forget, no matter how fit you are. We have been told stories of soldiers who stopped halfway and cried. I didn't cry, but I stopped about 10 times on my way up here. But you know what? Getting to this point, and by the way, we're not even at the end of the trail yet, but getting to this point comes with a sense of such achievement. If I've done Atwea, you know, so it's like from now on, if anyone throws you a challenge and you say, oh wait, if I've done Atwea, then yeah. Right here. Let all the saints say amen. So what's the payoff at the end of that grueling climb to the top of Atwea Mountain? What do you get when you get here? Well, for the Christians who make this a pilgrimage, let me tell you, they feel closer to God. Look at this. This is the actual prayer camp, Camp 3, the Methodist prayer. And let me tell you, we have learned since we got here that on 31st of December, this entire expanse was full. And you can believe it because they've got these speakers at all the vantage points so that wherever you're standing to pray, you will be heard. Not just by your fellow man, but by God himself. You can imagine that if you live in a city anywhere, it can get very loud. You can feel like there is a lot of interference between your voice and God's ears. But up here, there's nothing between you and your Maker. And the Christians who come here firmly believe that this is the clearest connection they can have with the God who made them. But it's beautiful out here, so you know it's not only for those who are coming to pray, but for those who want to see the beauty of this nation, the beauty of Mampong, the beauty of the Asante region. The view from here, not bad at all. I recommend you take your family one weekend, bring them over, and show them what God made.
Let's stay a bit longer on our Ghana Month series. Joining us on Zoom is Right Reverend Professor Joseph Atwea Mountain, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana and also the Chancellor of the Presbyterian University of Ghana. Grateful, Prof, for joining us. Now, to what extent is this belief about God's divine presence at this beautiful Atwea Mountain?
Your question again?
So I'm asking, to what extent is this belief of God's divine presence at Atwea Mountain true?
Wow. To the extent that anybody who goes there can really connect faithfully to God. It will be true. So it depends on who goes there and the frame of mind or spirituality of the person. And people have gone there and really have had some great and powerful experiences of God in their lives.
Now, as Christians, we believe that God is omnipresent. He's everywhere. So why do we need a specialized place to go and pray? What's the divine reasoning behind that?
Because there's sometimes too much noise in the city. So you would see that the idea of solitary places have been very vital and important in the lives of the great spiritual leaders in generations. So Moses was at Mount Sinai and was close to God there in a solitary place and was able to get the 10 Commandments from there. Jesus Christ went to a solitary place to fast and pray. Muhammad, the prophet, the great prophet, went to Arabia, was in Arabia, and he was in a solitary place to have conversation with God. Buddha was in solitary places, and St. Paul went to a solitary place after his call. And some Christians in Ghana to go to solitary places, Atwea and other places. But I must say that it's very important to find some solitary place to pray and to be in connection with God. But the Atwea Mountain is not the only place. There are so many other places. It could be your special room, but the importance of solitary place for concentrated spirituality is important in the life of a good Christian.
Oh, okay. Prof, have you tried it before? Have you been there?
Oh no. I have my other solitary places. So I have other ways of staying away from the noise of the cities.
Okay. So you just mentioned that it's important as a Christian you find a solitary place to pray to God. Now, I mean, what's the importance for as a Christian to have that solitude or the solitary place when I can just sit even here and pray to God?
Okay, so let me start off by saying that from a Christian perspective, human beings are created beings. And the statement I'm going to make actually is not only in Christianity, it's also in Islam, it's also in Judaism, it's in so many of the world religions. That God created us as spiritual, moral, physical, social, and environmental beings. And what has happened in our generation is that people have pushed away, our generation has pushed away the spirituality aspect. People don't like it anymore because they got more money, because they can do other things in maybe science and technology to give them what they want. And so they've pushed away their spirituality. And it's important that we understand that we get our full humanity, our full humanness. Yes, in physical and social technology, science, and so on. But we cannot dispense with the spirituality. Otherwise, our full humanity is not intact. Saint Augustine, the great Saint Augustine, once said that, "Oh God, you made us for thyself, and our souls are restless until they find rest in thee." So we can get everything, but without a spirituality, we will be restless. And you would see that for us as Christian leaders, one of the things that we've been campaigning for is good spirituality, good morality, plus hard work, and so on. Of course, there are some Christians who go to one direction and they neglect the others. They just go and sit there and pray, and they have not understood the God of the Bible as God who empowers us in prayer so we can go and work. So they just sit there, and that is also very dangerous. But spirituality actually sharpens and shapes our humanity, shapes and sharpens our humanness. It shapes and sharpens our reconnectedness to God. And so it's very important that please, the whole world will please appreciate the fact that we were created that way. And so even if we push it away, we will definitely, our souls will definitely go and find spirituality somewhere. And the earlier we understand this as human beings, the better it is for us. And so for me, when we are talking about development, we must talk about holistic development, namely spiritual, moral, physical, social, and environment.
So, Prof, how different are answers received in these solitary places to those received away from a place like the Atwea Mountain?
Well, let me say that God, the way God works very differently in other people's lives. So I had a conversation that your man had with the young man at Atwea who was narrating the history. He says that there was a minister of God, that God directed this minister to that place. And God said to him when he reached a certain point that this is the place. Once in a while, God directs people's lives that way. So once in a while, God directs Moses' life in a certain direction. Once in a while, God will direct somebody's life in a certain way. It does not mean that all of us must follow that. But God can choose to have a special abode in a special place. And it is possible. It is possible. History is replete with examples of such things. And I could see that it is possible that Atwea has that special significance, that God intentionally perhaps met a particular minister of God there and told him that he's going to use that place for a special purpose. And God is doing that. I have had testimonies of people who have been there and how God has specifically answered their prayers. And we do have several of our ministers. In fact, we do have on our church calendar a day that people go to our mountain to pray. And people come back, they have testimonies and so on. But again, let me repeat, that does not mean that that's the only place that God would answer prayers. We also know that God answers prayers in every part of the world, as you initially said, that God is omnipotent, omnipresent. But God can choose any place to abide there in a special way. And it's possible that God has chosen Atwea in that direction. Having said that, though, every prayer, every spirituality, every Christian must appreciate the fact that spirituality goes in two dimensions, from the dimension of God and from the dimension of the individual. You can go to Atwea, and if you are not properly disposed spiritually, you will not get anything. You will come back the same. Nothing will happen. Okay. It all depends on how you position yourself spiritually. And you can even go, you can go to Jerusalem, or you can go to Mecca, you can go to any place. Spirituality is such that if you don't position yourself well, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. And I think that is a caution for all of us, so that we don't think that whether it is Mount Sinai or it is Atwea or wherever, just because you go there, something will happen. No, it all depends on how we position ourselves spiritually.
Okay. So, Prof, to what extent should this practice of going to solitary places like Atwea Mountain be encouraged among Christians?
Well, let me say that, let me start with you yourself. I think that you should create a solitary place in your house. If possible, every Christian must create a solitary time, even if it's 30 minutes every day, just to have talk with God. This is what in Christian circles we call quiet time. And so the quiet time is creating a solitary space so that one could really have, if you like, a special relationship with God in prayer through the word and so on. And for me, that is very key. That strengthens you for the day. I believe every Christian must have that. And then beyond that, that's why sometimes we go to church. Church is supposed to also be a special place where we have concentration on God. And beyond that, there are times when we can go for a retreat. And to go for a retreat, it doesn't have to be at Atwea Mountains. It can be, some people can even go to a hotel. Some people can go to places that they know they can have some quietness. And if you would ask me, just like every car needs some overhauling, every quarter, I would suggest that every normal Christian could just take some few days off and retreat. And to me, it doesn't have to be Atwea. It just has to be a solitary place. Every quarter, if you retreat and re-strengthen yourself spiritually, it will really help. Okay. There are some people who already live in solitary places. They don't have to go anywhere. So my suggestion then is that for a normal Christian life, for a good discipleship menu, I would say every quarter, every Christian should really have some time off with God. If you're a Christian leader like a pastor, I would say every month would be helpful. Okay. So that's the way I'll go at it.
All right, Prof, I'm grateful to you. Thank you so much for your time here. So as you saw in that Atwea, I'm sure you can also take that trip through the picturesque Atwea Mountains in the Ashanti region. Now,